Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things. Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin'. After the VMAs, my baby mama cussed my ass out. I kicked the ass, we back friends like Puffy and Steve Stout. Cut the grass around my clit so I can see these snakes. You see it back in the hood, it's cause I see they fake. I preach a sermon about the paper like I'm Creflo Dollar. I pop you punk niggas like I pop my collar. I'm confused, I like Megan, Monica and Maya, Missy's freaky and Brandy shot up. Now take a look at how my lifestyle changed up. I'm on now, goddammit, I done came up. Now you can find me with the finest hoes, choosing which whip to drive, but what match my clothes. I got a fetish for the stones, I'm heavy on the ice, man. If I ain't got a pistol on me, sure I got a knife, fam. Get out of line and I'm lighting your ass up. Send me automatic spray, I'll tighten your ass up. What? Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things. Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things.
Nigga, don't exceed your speed, cause I will put G's on your fitted like the Negro League. I got connects, I don't need no weed. I've been in LA for a year now, so I don't see no seeds. After I'm done, you clapping the crew. Hell yeah, fuck fans, guess what? Your favorite rapper does too. In a minute, I'ma have a jeweler making my ring spin. My crew run wild like the Jamaicans in Kingston. Nothing but bling bling in your face, boy. That's why my neck shine like one of the shirts that Puffy and Mace wore. I done found a nympho as soon as I pop a bra. She had my balls head first like a soccer star. You can only stand next to the man if you're proper. Y'all take care of birds like an animal doctor. I've been had them buzzing. Niggas just slept on me, so I'm out for revenge like when the Ben Laden cousins.
Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things. Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things.
Read the paper, look at the news, we on the front page. Yeah, we in the Bahamas with AKs on the stage. The ice in the Jacob watch and make a broke nigga take something. So I gotta keep the 4/5 with no safety button. G-Unit getting money. I know some artists are starving, but play the game like they rich. To me, this shit funny. I know you see me coming, cause on the front of the Maybach, it say payback for those that hated on me. I hate when niggas claim they banging the gang. You ain't a Crip like Snoop, you ain't a blood like Game. See, I been having beef, I got my own bulletproof vest. Most of my enemies dead, I got about 2 left. Until my last breath, I'm sending niggas bullet holes. Innocent bystanders get hit trying to be heroes. You know how we roll, everywhere that we go. It's Fofos, Calicos, and Desert Eagles. Yeah.
Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if you want. We be poppin' them things. Every hood we go through, all the gangsters around know my whole crew. Nigga, what? Nigga, we hold it down like we supposed to. Nigga, you can front if